In this video we're going to be looking at the path of the cue ball after impact when playing with topspin. Now primarily my videos are aimed at players of British 8-ball. However, I'm well aware that players of other cue sports watch my videos, so it's really important to point out a distinct difference in how topspin works in British 8-ball. The key difference from other cue sports is that the cue ball is slightly smaller than the object ball and lighter too. This means that when the balls come into contact when playing with topspin, the object ball is actually pushing down slightly on the cue ball. This pushes the cue ball down into the table and it jumps up a little. The harder you play this shot, the more the cue ball jumps. Whilst the cue ball is spinning in the air, some of that forward spin is lost, which is why you can't get as much action on the cue ball with topspin as you can with screwback. Once the cue ball comes back into contact with the table, then the spin takes hold and draws the cue ball forward. In other cue sports where the cue ball and the object ball are the same size, this jump doesn't happen. If we look at these two shots side by side, we can see how the smaller cue ball reacts differently to two balls of the same size. This in turn also affects the path of the cue ball when we introduce an angle. You can see with these two shots that although they're both played in exactly the same way, the path of the smaller cue ball is distinctly different. So apologies to viewers who might not play British 8-ball, but this next section will focus purely on the path of the smaller cue ball. So we know that when playing topspin in a dead straight line, the cue ball follows after the object ball. But what about when we introduce an angle to the shot? As I discussed in part 1 of this series, a cue ball with no spin will follow along the tangent line after impacting the object ball. When we play the ball with topspin, the cue ball is drawn forward from the tangent line. How much and how soon is governed by how hard we play the shot. When played softly from a narrow angle, the cue ball starts out on the tangent line but then quickly rolls forward from that line because of the forward spin. If we play the shot at a medium pace, then the ball stays on the tangent line for longer before the spin takes hold and pulls the ball forward. You'll also start to notice the ball bouncing back from the tangent line just a touch as it leaves the bed of the table. When we play the shot hard, the bounce up from the table is more pronounced and the ball will actually come back from the tangent line before the spin pulls the ball forward, creating an arc. With all three speeds, the position that the cue ball hits the cushion is not massively different, but the path that the cue ball travels to get there is. Once we move around to a wider angle, then the topspin has less pull because it starts to be in a similar direction to the path of the ball along the tangent line. At soft pace, the cue ball still travels forward a little from the tangent line. However, at this wider angle, as we increase the pace, it makes minimal difference to the path of the cue ball, and our end impact with the cushion is almost the same. Once we're at a very wide angle, then the topspin has little to no effect at all, and the cue ball simply travels along the tangent line, however hard we hit it. Because of the fact that the cue ball is leaving the bed of the table, judging the path with topspin can be quite difficult. It's still a very powerful positional tool, but just don't expect to get the same action and consistency as you would when playing with screwback. As with everything, lots of practice at different angles with different speeds will really help you get a feel for the path of the cue ball when playing with topspin. If you want to see more practice routines and pull tutorials, then please remember to subscribe. And if you're interested in any of the equipment I use in this video, then there are links in the description below.